Okay, this evening I have tragic news and also good news about former President Donald Trump having been shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, while speaking at a rally to about 50,000 people in the crowd. To help me understand this situation and the Secret Service, I have former Secret Service Ken Valentine. Ken, thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Stephen, I'd love to say it's a pleasure. I'm certainly glad to be with you and grateful to get to talk to you and walk through these events, but would certainly rather not be doing that. But under the circumstances, I am glad to be with you.
Yes, yeah. I want to clear up a few things really quickly. Former President Donald Trump has made a statement from the hospital. And I just wanted to go over that with people so that they know. Let me just show that here on my screen so that people can see that with us as I read it. Let me pull that up. 1 second here. Okay. Former President Donald Trump from the hospital says, "I want to thank the United States Secret Service and all of the law enforcement for their rapid response on the shooting that just took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. Most importantly, I want to extend my condolences to the family of the person at the rally who was killed, and also to the family of another person that was badly injured. It is incredible that such an act can take place in our country. Nothing is known at this time about the shooter, who is now dead. I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong when I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. Much bleeding took place, so I realized then what was happening. God bless America." So he is okay, but I want to go through this. First of all, as somebody who has been with Secret Service, how did you feel the Secret Service did? We heard pop, 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 and then they immediately jumped in.
Well, first of all, I just want to say how grateful I am that he is okay. The Secret Service, and which I did for 24 years, swears an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, and then to do the job that the American people have authorized us to do, which is to protect these men and women in elected office, and now Trump is a former, and so any attempt is going to be scrutinized. It's going to be looked at hard, as it should be, and I am very, very grateful that he's okay. Very sad that anyone suffered harm tonight or today, and certainly that's what it sounds like. And so grieving for that, grieving over the situation, really, because I would much prefer that this would have been prevented versus what we saw. And now to your comment about what we all saw, the reaction by the Secret Service was phenomenal. The shift, which is the group of men and women that are right around the president, reacted swiftly. They did exactly as we rehearse. This scenario has been rehearsed, time and time again, and they did exactly what their training led them to do. There was no thought behind what they did. They realized what was happening and they reacted. And I know someone is going to get a stopwatch out and calculate how quickly it was before the first one reacted. And I don't think anyone's going to be terribly critical, because it was fast. And it was right on point too. They did exactly what they're supposed to do, which is to cover and then evacuate. And grateful again that it only grazed him awfully close for my comfort. But their reaction was swift. It was purposeful. It was effective. And so I applaud the men and women that were in that spot today, in particular, and he won't appreciate it, but it looked to me like a good friend of mine named Sean was the detail leader, and courageous, on point, and well done.
Okay. I saw on the Charlie Kirk show just minutes before you and I went live, they were able to slow down the video, and you can actually see the bullet as it rips through and comes behind Trump's head. I mean, they missed hitting his brain, his skull, his neck by about 1 inch. Just to clarify for people, there's a lot in the news and even over on Twitter where they believed it was somebody in the crowd. Unfortunately, the person in the crowd that they were moving out and getting out of the bleachers was somebody who died. They have passed away. They were standing between Trump and the rooftop where the shooter was shooting, and unfortunately, it looks like took a bullet to the head and has passed away. Another person was injured, but they slowed that down, and you can see the bullet just whipping right past him. From what I can see, and I want to watch the video with you,
Yes,
it looks like there was 3 or 4 kind of slow calculated shots. Boom, 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 right? And as Trump said, when he heard it, the whizzing, he turned. I believe that turning probably saved his life, because just that movement brought his head into a different position where it went by. But let me bring that up and let's watch that together. And then I want to talk a little bit more about how phenomenal the Secret Service was. Again, like you say, you pull out a stopwatch and you're going to see just how fast these men and women moved in order to help the president. Let's see. Let me bring that up, turn up my volume, and then we can watch this. Oh, hold on. We've lost it. Let me try one more time. It looks like it might be cutting in and out. Bring it back one more time. Shoot. It's not going to show it. Are you able to see it, Ken?
Well, the what I'm seeing is from the moments right as he gets hit and reacts. So, and the camera angle is obviously shading, that action. So, but again, credit to President Trump as well for his reaction. He gives the telltale sign that he's been hit, and then he obviously has a millisecond to think about it, and he himself gets down. And so that is, that's what we want him to do. We don't want heroes on the stage to point to the shooter or anything like that. We want him to get down, and it certainly aids in that covering part of the action and reaction by the Secret Service. So credit to President Trump for presence of mind to do what needed to be done there and to take swift action.
Yeah. You mentioned he gave a sign. I don't want to give anything away of a president, but is a president also trained on what to do if they are in distress?
Well, no, they're not. What I was actually referring to is he went up to his ear to say something's wrong, kind of like a choking victim, goes to their throat to say something's wrong, and he motioned to his ear and then had the presence of mind to get down. And I think to his credit, presence of mind is everything. A lot of people, are struck and in that moment and don't react like that. So obviously a sharp guy.
Yeah. Okay. So it was at first believed that it came from the bleachers. Everyone was saying, how did somebody get in here with a weapon? We've now learned that outside of the arena, outside of the event, there was what looks like a building or a warehouse with a metal roof. And just before the shots were fired, there was a witness, a gentleman who was who was at the BBC being interviewed. And he said, there's somebody on the roof. There's somebody on the roof. And they immediately ran over and the person was crouched down. They couldn't see them. And then all of a sudden, pop, 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 those first 4 pops. And it looks like the shooter was taken out very quickly. Would there have been Secret Service or police around the event? Who would have taken that person out?
Right. As the images were scrolling on TV while I was watching a little earlier today, someone did have a photo of our counter sniper team. And so we do deploy a counter sniper element, oftentimes many teams, and they work in tandem, 2 at a time. The photo that I saw showed one of the counter snipers down on his rifle, and that is the posture for taking a shot. I was trying to see if his finger was on the trigger, because that would also be a sign that he does have a target engaged. The other sniper, who typically would be up on the binoculars, and so you have a spotter and you have a shooter. But in this photo, what struck me was that you had 2 guys going to their weapons, which tells me that it's very possible that they had already identified a shooter and were moving in to eliminate that shooter. The fact that what the eyewitnesses are recounting was rapid succession, it sounds like the shooter may have gotten off multiple shots and then immediately been taken out. But that's, again, a little bit of speculation on my part, just based on the photo I saw and a couple of the eyewitness accounts. And someone said that that the shooter had taken a round to the head on top of a building. So, that speaks to, that's not an agent on the ground shooting up at someone on a building. Typically that's going to be the counter sniper taking that out.
Okay. Yeah. I saw that photo as well. Now, people are asking over in the chats, would Secret Service have swept that? Could the person have gone up after a sweep? How would somebody have gotten on the roof and able to get those shots off?
Good question. And definitely that is going to be part of the investigation is number one, was that building a part of the security perimeter? I keep hearing, talking heads on the news saying, well, the shot came from outside the perimeter. Oftentimes the media gets that wrong, and they don't know where the actual perimeter might be. But if that building was inside the perimeter, then it would have been swept and it would have been posted. If there was a shooter on top of a building inside the perimeter, then that is going to signify a type of failure. If the building was outside the perimeter, it doesn't mean that they didn't do anything with that building. They may have posted that building. They may have contacted people in that building, and they certainly would have eyes on that building. And then the other part of that is that if the shooter managed to hide themselves, to conceal their location until right before they shot, it is possible that what we're hearing in the eyewitness accounts were that, it sounds like they almost engaged each other, that the counter snipers, Secret Service counter snipers, were seeing the activity, were dialing in and preparing to take the shot as he started to fire, because otherwise, if he had started to take shots, and that was the first time they located a shooter and then followed their protocol, their response would have been much slower. Yeah. So it would not have been pop, pop, boom. It would have been pop, 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 and then there would have been a delay. So while they identify the shooter, while they dial in on the shooter, you've got to get a range, you've got to get a focus in on that. But the fact that eyewitnesses are saying it was rapid succession, 3 or 4 or more shots, tells me that they were on that target when he started shooting and eliminated that shooter in the midst of his shooting, it sounds like.
Yeah. From what I saw and what I have read since the event, it sounds like there were 3 or 4 slow shots, pop, 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 almost like really trying to get that headshot. And then once Trump moved or dropped down, then it was the rapid fire, boom, 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 boom. But it does sound like from the BBC interview, and again, you and I are speculating a little bit because we weren't there, and there's so many things going on right now. But it does seem like while the shooter is getting ready to shoot, it does seem like Secret Service was already on that person, and maybe that's why he decided to take the shots quickly. I don't fully know, and I know that you don't either. But just trying to help understand that he may have started taking his shots because they were already on their way to him, or they had gotten a target on him and were ready to take him out.
Right. And typically what we will do is, you set up a perimeter, and then we would have agents assigned to respond. So if people were shouting out that, hey, we see somebody on that rooftop and there shouldn't be anybody on that rooftop, then we would be deploying agents to go to that building, to ascend that building and get to that rooftop to, because most of the time it's not a shooter. It's, it's someone who wants to take pictures. It wants, someone who's got just an interest in seeing the event from that vantage point. And we're interested in making sure that is a safe viewing point, that they don't have any weapons or anything like that. But in this case, if counter snipers fired as he was shooting, or right in that vicinity, so that it sounded like they were in succession, that tells me that they had spotted this shooter, that they were very active in monitoring this person, and that as soon as he started firing, now there's no question. And so, part of the investigation will bear out what were they seeing, what didn't they see, and then, obviously they would have seen and heard the rounds. What didn't they see up to that point? Because our counter sniper teams operate on a 100% green light, so they don't have to wait for that person to shoot before they shoot them. So it'll be interesting to see what they have to say and kind of their perspective on what happened there.
Okay, so let me just clarify. When you say Secret Service operates with a green light, it's not like you have to say drop your weapon or any. You guys just boom. You have the authority and the right to protect the president or the former president immediately.
Sure. Yeah, okay. Absolutely. The counter snipers are trained to take the shot, and if they can articulate why they needed to take the shot, then they take it, no question on that part of it. It's not like they have to radio down and get some supervisor to approve them taking the shot. No, they're given full authority to use the training, the tools, and all of these techniques that they have to stop a shooter if that's what they're seeing. And so they operate on a green light.
Okay. And I have to imagine the Secret Service counter snipers are probably some of the best shots in the world, right?
They are indeed. My hat's off to them. We worked with them extensively. I was on the president's detail 2 times for a total of 10 years in my career with 3 presidents. And the counter snipers are a very, very special group of men and women now they're drawn from the uniform division ranks of the Secret Service. And the snipers have to try out. They have to be a good fit for the program. And then they go through an inordinate amount of training. A lot of the military sniper schools, they get a special weapon. They train all the time. And so they are a very special group of men and women. And I can tell you that having been the operational shift leader with the president, when we got back within range of our counter snipers, it was a good feeling. And I always knew when we were back within range, and that's just an added layer of defense and even offense that is very, very welcome.
Yeah. I have somebody over here in the chat saying, how would a shooter have gotten up there? You're saying that there is a certain distance where they will do a sweep, and then outside and again, we may not know this yet, but the investigation will reveal this. It is quite possible that this shooter could be outside of the perimeter. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, that's what I wonder is where was the building and how close to the venue was the building? Certainly if it overlooked the venue from, adjacent to the venue, then I would expect them to post that building and not allow access to the building. Now, how someone would get on top of a building that obviously had a vantage point to this site is a great question. Look forward to getting that answer. I think that's a critical question, and it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. But that therein, not every advance are you afforded the opportunity to check every building. These are, if it's within the perimeter, then you do have authority to do what has to be done. But you can't just say every building within eyeshot of a venue is part of that perimeter, because you not only have to justify doing this, authoritative security measures there, but you have to be able to accomplish that. And if you're in a densely well built up area with possibly dozens of buildings, well, you can't possibly secure every building. There again, this is an overlapping security element, and that's part of why you deploy snipers is to monitor those rooftops. You deploy response agents to go check out these rooftops if someone shows up on one, and you really just can't shut down every building within the area. If we could, we would, but it's not practical. It's not feasible. It's rarely going to be authorized. So you deploy snipers to augment that security.
Okay. I don't know that this will stop Trump because obviously he got shot. He's disoriented. There's 6 or 7 secret, service agents hanging on him, and he's still trying to let the people know, I'm with you. I'm going to be okay. He's a very, very determined human being. Do you think the Secret Service will recommend he not do these open air rallies anymore? Or do you think that they'll just bring in extra manpower? Any idea where they might try to lead him going forward?
Yeah, the only thing that I know for sure is they'd be foolish to tell him you can't do that, because he's not going to abide by that. And so, no, I don't think that this will change anything, really. I think these outdoor events are going to continue to happen. I think, much like, excuse me, in the wake of 9/11, or in the wake of the Reagan shooting, prior to the Reagan shooting, we were asking for crowds to be magged, to go through magnetometers before they were allowed within handgun range of our president. And we got a lot of pushback on that, kind of like having tops on cars, before the Kennedy shooting. We're concerned about these things, and in planes for 9/11. And, everyone listened to us after 9/11 when we had planes crashing into buildings that had been hijacked. So, I suspect that we're going to get listened to, a little more intently. I think the advanced elements that go out, I really don't think this is going to change much in terms of how we do our advances. I think the methodology is solid. The assets are enough to do the job. I do wonder what kind of broke down here, that someone got on a rooftop within gunshot range. If it turned out that he shot from 6 miles away, well, okay, you're dealing with a complete and utter unicorn that is going to be difficult to mitigate. And if that turns out to be a reality, well, we are going to have to change something. But this shooter sounds like he was well within a reasonable range. Why wasn't that rooftop secure? Why was the response to someone on a rooftop not effective before he started getting rounds off? Those are questions that need to be answered, but I suspect that the methodology, when followed properly and to the T, is very, very effective. And so I don't expect anything different. I think if anything, President Trump's going to ask for more outdoor rallies. I think that's the kind of guy he is. It really reminded me of President Bush, after 9/11, going to ground zero and saying, I hear you, the world hears you, and just stand by for our response. He's a lot like Ronald Reagan, joking as he went in for surgery after being shot in the chest. And so strong leader, strong personality, and standing up for everything that's good and strong and right about America. I really give it to him, because there had to be a certain amount of uncertainty and pain, and he had the presence of mind to say, I'm okay, we're okay, and we'll get them. So and I love his statement afterwards. Frankly, he's very supportive of the Secret Service, even though our job is to prevent him from being shot, and he got shot. So there's that to contend with, and that to be investigated, and to figure out why. And we'll let that bear out. We'll see what the story is, and where if any breakdowns were that need to be addressed.
Yeah. Somebody said over in the chat, Trump knowing to drop down was his cognitive test. Now it's Joe Biden's turn. That's a great comment. For those that are just joining us right now, this is former Secret Service Ken Valentine helping us understand the Trump assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania at the Trump rally with about 50,000 people. You've mentioned the investigation a few times. Who is going to take the lead on this? Is it going to be local police, FBI, Secret Service? Are they going to work hand in hand? What would be your best guess?
Well, my hope is that this is a big collaborative effort, but I know from my legal training within the Secret Service that we investigate the crime scene and then we hand it over. And so we're the tiny agency that put this whole thing together through a collaborative effort with state and local partners. But the FBI comes in and they will do the final evaluation and investigation about what happened. And that's part of our strong American system, is that a DHS entity, the Secret Service, put together the security plan. An event happened. Now the Department of Justice, a separate and distinct entity within our government, has the role and the responsibility for coming in to investigate that impartially. And hey, if there are names to be named, we name them and let them do their job and do it well. So yeah, there will be a thorough investigation. I trust and hope that it is collaborative in nature. Secret Service has a huge advantage when it comes to collaboration, because any town we roll into, whether it's in Pennsylvania or California or Florida or any country overseas, the very first thing we do when we arrive to say the president is coming is we start looking for help. And it's just such a small agency with such a huge mission that we have to be collaborative. And I think that's a strength. We lean into that and we enjoy the good favor of state and local and other federal partnerships in doing our job and getting that mission done.
Okay. I know that you were traveling and this is a last minute interview. I really appreciate you coming on. I don't know if you had time to see this or not, but MSNBC, USA Today, CNN, they are putting out these false stories, which worries me. They're saying things like Trump ends rally early after falling down. Trump leaves rally early after being spooked by loud noises. These are just a couple of examples. How dangerous is it for big media hubs like CNN to downplay an assassination attempt on the presumptive nominee of one of the bigger political parties and a former president who is deserving of Secret Service?
Well, Stephen, I have a lot of thoughts on that. I can't help but think how foolish, this is a day when we ought to be coming together. This is a little bit like 9/11. It's like when Reagan was shot, or any other climactic event within our country that should bring us together. And those who want to be brought together are, and this, these mainstream media outlets that can't see past the nose on their face, that have an agenda that comes first before our country. They show their colors. Maybe that's fine. They can do that, and they can go that direction. But certainly, most of us, the common sense approach is to say, "What do you mean he fell down?" I mean, he got down. Good for him. He was shot, and he had the presence of mind to do what needed to be done there, which was to get down. So, yeah, I don't appreciate it. I see through it. I think most Americans are common sense people who see through this nonsense. We've had enough of it. We've seen the, this media, this leftist media plunge, and they just can't seem to help themselves. And I guess more is fine, but we're kind of done listening to that and see right through it.
Yeah. It just, like, they're so stupid. Obviously, the truth is going to come out. I just don't know why the media tends to take the path that will expose them as liars. But you and I can't control that. I was disappointed to read on Twitter dozens and dozens of people saying Donald Trump staged this to look good. The former president is afraid of a few BB guns, like just horrible, horrible things. Trying to make it look like he set up, an assassination attempt on his own life. One question that I have, and then I want to hear about your book, Cheating Death, is there are people on Twitter right now saying, I'm disappointed the shooter missed. I wish they had gotten Trump. He needs to be taken out. Who cares if you get, the modern day Hitler? Just disgusting things that I don't appreciate them saying about Donald Trump. Does the Secret Service follow up with anyone like that, or does it only get a visit if it actually looks like some kind of a threat versus just a sick opinion?
Great question. And, having retired almost 5 years ago now, forgive me, we would follow up on threats. And, so the definition of what is a threat, and, is it a veiled threat or is it a direct threat? And, there's so much on social media now, and with the access and with the advent of this 24/7 onslaught of comments and things like that, my suspicion is that at this present time, comments like that are certainly going to be looked at, but followed up on when either you see a pattern or that it's a direct threat. And so someone saying, I'm sorry they missed, not considered a direct threat or something to be followed up on. But when they take that extra step and say, we missed today, but we're not going to miss tomorrow, something like that is going to be followed up on. And so it is disgusting, though. And I'll take you back to the Reagan shooting when I was just a kid. And that day it was a weekday, and we got on the school bus not knowing anything about it. And the school bus driver calmed everybody down and said, boys and girls, the president of the United States was shot today. And there was some kid on my bus that cheered. And so this, human nature is hard to change. And it just seems like there are a certain group of people out there that their hate is greater than their patriotism. And that's a problem. So, I don't appreciate that either, like you said. And I would love to do something more about that. I think the greatest thing that you can do is go vote and, put who you want in office, and then leave the rest of that kind of nonsense to the side. But it is, I am going to be thankful that he was grazed by this bullet, and that he's going to be okay. And I suspect that he is going to be enjoying a bump from, the fact that he had the presence of mind, the resolve, the fighting spirit that is bringing him through this. There are certainly other people that would go through this and be scared to death to get back on a stage. And I suspect we're going to see him on an outdoor stage quickly.
Yeah. Well, Reagan saw a 22-point bump after being shot because people realize, wait a minute, we love this guy. He loves our country. I think that's what we're going to see with Trump again. In our final minutes, I'm going to put a direct link down below, but you've got a book out called Cheating Death about your time as a Secret Service agent. How did you come up with that title? Did you find yourself in situations where you were actually cheating death?
Well, the title actually that's a term that we use within the Secret Service, at least when I was on the president's detail. And it referred to the fact that if you took the president out and brought him back to the White House safe and sound, and turned over a living, breathing president to the next shift, the next team that came on, and you cheated death, and now it's this next team's turn. And so that was kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing that we used to add a little levity to the seriousness of the business, and at the same time remind each other of what happens when you don't do your job and do it very, very well and to its fullest. And so we like to think that we cheated death because death awaited our protectee if we didn't do our job and do it very well. So that's where that title came from. It's a little bit of a double entendre because I'm talking about I'm talking about life as well, and cheating death when you die. And so as a believer and my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, I believe that when I do die, I will pass from death to life eternal. And so you cheat death during life, but you also cheat death in dying through Him. So that's where that came from. But it really was something that we talked about daily on the President's Detail when I was there, and how we, that's what you do. Death awaits. If you don't do your job, you did your job, you cheated death. So, it's really interesting too, within the book, there's a point in the book where I'm talking about how my mentor, a friend of mine named Joe Hamlet, said that he was going to pray for me, that if something happened, if there was an assassination on the attempt on the president, that he was praying that I wouldn't be there. And I said, you need to back that up, because that is not my prayer. So please don't pray that on my behalf, because, players want the ball. And if there's, we pray against anything happening to our protectee. But at the same time, if something's going to happen, the players want to play, and you want to be there. You want to be the one who stopped that. And so it was very difficult for me to watch today, to see people I know out there doing the job. They did it very well. I couldn't be prouder of their reaction from the stage. The counter assault team coming up, doing exactly what we trained to do, doing it very fast, doing it very well. Sean leading the way, and I love it. There's a part of me that says I wish I was there, but I wouldn't have done anything different. I think they were spot on, and I applaud. So I'm very proud of them.
Okay, I'll put a link down below. I know that there's going to be people that say, what are you talking about? This is a Secret Service failure. But you can't always remove 100% of risk. President Trump knows that. You know that. I know that. And so that's why they have a counter sniper. That's why they had people around the president that were there within seconds. And so even though this is a tragedy, because of that protocol, we have a dead assassin and we have a living, former president. And so you can't eliminate all of the risk. But again, I applaud them. I think that they did an incredible job. And based off of President Trump's Truth Social post, he is also incredibly grateful that they did their job. So I want to thank you for your time serving our country, keeping important people safe. This could have been a very different conversation tonight. And so I'm grateful that President Trump is okay. For those that are just joining, the former president has put out a Truth Social post that he is okay, that he is grateful, and that he looks forward to serving the American people. Ken, thank you so much for coming on, helping us understand. Perhaps we'll have you back on once this investigation comes out. I know that they're going to be looking at this from all angles and get us back an answer. But thank you again for coming on. I hope you have a great rest of your night.
You bet, Stephen. Thank you.